So I'm going to take you through the steps of setting up a peritoneal dialysis machine. Now, before I can set up the machine or connect to the machine or disconnect from the machine, I have to make sure that all windows are closed, there's no fans on, and there's no air conditioning on. But once I'm connected to the machine, then I can then open windows or turn fans or air conditioning on. So step one is I'm going to clean the machine, and I'm going to clean the surrounding area around the machine and under the machine. The next thing I have to do is wash my hands. Now, before I can wash my hands, I have to make sure that I'm bare below the elbow. So I'll be taking off my watch and my rings. So I'm going to wash my hands following the correct hand washing technique with soap and water. This first hand wash will be a social wash, so I'll only be washing my hands once. So the next thing I have to do is put the bags onto the machine, but before I can do that, I have to check the expiry date and also that it is the correct fluid. So the expiry date at the top, and yep, that's the correct fluid. To tear open the bag, there's a small slit and a larger slit. I'm looking for the larger one, and then I can tear this off. And I have to make sure that this is sufficiently hanging down. So I'm going to put the next bag next to the machine, and all the rubbish just goes onto the floor because I can't afford to risk contamination. This bag goes close to the machine, and I've got to make sure that nothing is touching the end of this. So the next thing I have to do is press the green button. It's now told me to load the set. So the first thing I'm going to do is load the cassette. So making sure I've got the right end to open it, opening up the cassette. Again, rubbish just goes on the floor so I don't contaminate anything. And I hold it like a handbag, so I'm leaving this label on to make it easier to hold them. So I'm opening up the machine to load the cassette in. So now I'm going to clip the blue organiser onto the machine. So I'm going to turn this around so the wires don't get tangled. Clip it at the top and then snap it onto the next bit. So now I'm going to close the 6 clamps. Now this 6th clamp isn't actually used as part of the process, but I still have to close it. So the next thing I have to do is press the green button. While the machine is self-testing, I'm going to connect the drain bag to the drain manifold. So to open the bag, there's a perforated edge here. Again, rubbish goes on the floor. So now I'm going to connect the drain bag to the drain manifold. Again, tearing down the perforated side. Now I've got to be really careful that I don't touch any of the stuff that connects in. Don't want any infection. So now I'm going to connect them, and I've got to be really careful that I don't touch these parts. And make sure that it's pushed all the way in. Think salt and pepper. If you get the reference, you get the reference. And that pushes again there too. I'm now going to connect the manifold to the first line, which is on the right, which is the drain line. Again, being careful not to touch any of these. Make sure you push it all the way on, and just being really careful not to touch below and risk infection. I'm now going to close the large clamps on the drainage bags and leave the small clamps open. It is important that you close these large clamps, because if you don't, you'll wake up to a big mess in the morning. So I'm going to open the drain bags and put them on the floor. Now, make sure that the shiny side is facing upwards, or sunny side up, as I would like to say. It might also be helpful to buy a plastic crate to put this into, just as a double protection. So now I'm going to clear the rubbish up, because I'm going to double wash my hands now, so time to get the rubbish out of the way. So I've got my gel ready, and I'm going to double wash my hands. So I'll be washing my hands for 2 minutes before I connect my bags to the machine. So first of all, I'm going to gel my hands before I connect to each bag. Now, it's really important that when I pull the covering off this, that I don't touch any part of what's inside of here, because that puts you at risk for infection. And if that becomes contaminated, then I've got to take all of this off and start the process all over again. So it's really important to keep away from all what's inside of here. So holding the edge and making sure that I don't touch the inside, I'm pulling the cover off. And then I connect this to the heater line. Again, being careful not to touch what's on the inside. And then I connect the two together. So I'm going to gel my hands again before I connect my supply line to my supply bag. And again, as before, being very careful to not touch what's on the inside of there, so that there's no risk of infection. So holding the edge, making sure that when I pull it off, I'm not touching what's on the inside. And connecting it up. So these two lines are only used if I was to need additional peritoneal dialysis bags, but I don't need them, so they won't be used. I'm now going to open the extension lead bag and rest it on the machine. Again, I'm looking for the perforated edge. And again, rubbish goes straight on the floor. I'm now going to gel my hands before I connect the extension to the patient line. And the reason why I've got the extension is to make it easier to go to the toilet during the night, because I don't want to have to disconnect and reconnect, which puts me more at risk of getting infection. So this enables me to use the toilet without having to disconnect from the machine. I'm now going to connect the extension line to the patient line to form a new patient line. And again, being very careful not to touch what's on the inside, just to make sure that I don't put myself at risk for infection. I now put the line back into the blue organiser, making sure that this is all the way down. The machine is now ready for me to connect to, and the beauty of this is I can do this process in the morning, ready to connect at night or later in the afternoon. It gives me the flexibility to set the machine up ready for when it's needed. I'm now ready to connect to the machine for the dialysis session, but before I can do that, I have to make sure that the machine is primed. Now this process makes sure that there's no air in the lines, because if there's air in the lines, it's very, very painful. So to start that process, I have to break the seals and open the clamps. The most important clamp for me to open is the patient line clamp. So I'm now going to press the button for the machine to start the priming process, which takes about 6 minutes. So while this happens, I can just get myself ready for bed. The machine is now finished priming, and I'm going to connect the machine to what's called a dummy bag. So this, for the purpose of this training session, is going to act as my peritoneum. Before I connect, I'm going to do a 2-minute hand wash. So now I'm going to connect the shield to the patient line. Now I have to open this really carefully so I don't touch the shield and contaminate it. There's an arrow there to show how to open it, and it's best to open it on a flat surface to make it easier. And then I'm going to crease that so it doesn't flap open. I'm now going to gel my hands and connect the patient line to the shield. Again, being careful not to touch the inside. And then I've got to get this connector in the groove. Close it. So I'm going to gel my hands, and then I'm going to connect the catheter to the patient line. Again, being careful not to touch the inside of there to risk contamination. I'm now going to open the twist clamp. And then start the process. So now the process of dialysis has started. So what happens is the machine fills the peritoneum. So imagine this is now my peritoneum. So the machine fills the peritoneum. It sits within the peritoneum for about an hour and a half. That's the dwell cycle. And then the machine sucks out the fluid and all the toxins that's now in that fluid, and it repeats that cycle 5 times during the night, and the whole process takes approximately 8 hours. So imagine this is the next morning and the therapy has finished. What I need to do is close the twist clamp and all the other clamps. I'm now going to press the green button and then wash my hands for 2 minutes. So now I'm going to put a new cap onto the catheter. So I've got to be careful when I open this again to avoid contamination. So I'm looking for the arrow on a flat surface. I'm opening it up like so. Gelling my hands again. And then unscrewing. And putting the cap on. Now that the cap is on the catheter, I know that I'm safe and I'm able to strip the machine. So I'm going to press the green button, and then this will then tell me that I can remove the cassette from the machine. I'm now going to press the green button again, and then this will send all the information from my dialysis session to my dialysis unit. So in a real dialysis session, these bags would be empty and this would be full. So I take these bags to the toilet, check them, make sure that they are clear, because I'm checking for signs of infection. If they're fine, then I can empty the contents of these bags into the toilet.